So Make UK has been around for next year 130 years in this country. It is the national business organisation that represents all of manufacturing in the UK. We've got around 27,000 manufacturing companies in membership, 72 trade bodies, 32 universities. So collectively, if you put that together, that's about 1.5 million employees out of the 2.6 million employed in the country. Most people don't realise that we are one of the biggest manufacturing countries in the world. We're regularly in the top 10. We're currently number 11 because Russia overtook us because they're building a lot of defence equipment, as you can imagine at the moment. But actually, we're normally in that top 10. So it's a very significant manufacturing nation. They also trust Make UK in terms of we've been around a long time. We don't go around suggesting they look at things that are not productive. And so if we really believe, as we do here, that this is something that's going to benefit the organisation, then we can give John's team access to that community. The challenge with manufacturing, it's a very complex thing to do. There's a lot of complexity, especially if you have a large factory nowadays with all the digital technologies that are used. There's a lot of challenges around security in those environments. We can talk about that separately. We've just seen some cyber attacks. And when you look at that, that's about people not addressing the whole organisation in a holistic way, thinking about things in silos constantly on the shop floor. So very often we're now installing millions of internet connected devices on the shop floor, but they're installed by production engineers, not by the IT department. And the IT department's not talking to the production engineers. Yeah. So that issue, as we get more digitally enabled and as we move towards AI, which we're now seeing quite a lot of in manufacturing, gets worse and worse. You've got to take a more holistic approach, which is why we like John's principle so much. Yeah. So the way to improve productivity, the way to improve the effectiveness of the investments you need to make to transform your business is about doing it as a holistic project. And that's exactly what the principle that John's promoting is all about. Very difficult to change culture in lots of companies. The larger the organization, they've got certain operating methods. And so this needs to be a discussion at the top of the organization, because you've got to affect quite a change in the way they operate here. So no longer is it just about the production manager thinking about how he's going to automate his production line. He's got to think about that holistically with the rest of the organization. So we need to get the buy-in at the top of the organization to make that change and to consider these projects as complete cross-organizational projects, not have lots of separate contractors, have them all, or have them, but have them all together in the same discussion. I think that's the principle that we're trying to adopt here, definitely.
It's about breaking down that Stephen's just mentioned, those internal silos where that person's responsible for cybersecurity, but IT are over here and operations are there and engineering are here. The amount of waste that you see in an organization in terms of misspent investment, not yielding the results. And the thing from, again, the C-suite's perspective is the detail is irrelevant in some respects. It's the higher level strategic objectives of productivity, throughput, that bottom line, managing those costs that we're talking about. Because at the end of the day, if you are inefficient, ineffective, producing waste, having to rework things, every single time you do that, the consumables going in there are energy, raw materials, labor cost. It's all just, and emissions coming out the other side as well. So the whole point of trying to, and again, you're not bringing anything new into the equation. The people that you have, as in your knowledge, people always say, our people are our greatest asset, and I genuinely believe that. I think they are. But if those people are, again, like a football team, you can have 11 great players, but if they're not in sync, you're going to lose. So you can keep the same 11. How many times have you seen a football manager come in with the same 11 players and overnight
turn a different result?
Yeah,
but you need to change it.
But it's about bringing in that.
It is.
It's not changing the components, it's changing how they sync and work, both internally and then how you engage externally with those suppliers. Because again, the big vendors, the Siemens, the SAPs, the Microsofts are incredibly valuable. But individually, it's the Aristotle quote, the whole is greater than the sum of the parts. The individual parts are great, but it's the whole activity. And that's where that is a culture change for a lot of organizations, because we have in the Western economies, we've built up IT, operations, engineering. They are totally separate organizations. Even if you look at the skills, the education to become the IT director of a company is a totally different career path to becoming the head of global engineering in an organization. And even the language, they don't speak the same language. They don't really understand each other's terminologies. and they're in the same organization. And the thing that they're trying to do, whether it's producing cars or aircraft, it's just a complex system. And the purpose is churn things out, low cost, as low cost as possible, high quality as possible, on time, on schedule, get that through. So it is a complex system that just needs orchestrating in a better way than we've managed to orchestrate it in the past.
All the chips in your Apple phone are designed in the UK. They're made elsewhere, but they're designed here. You travel on jets. More than 50% of the jets around the world are using Rolls-Royce engines designed in Derby. Every wing on an Airbus is made in the UK. If you travel on an Airbus aircraft, every single wing's made here. We are the largest producer of commercial aircraft parts in the world, in this country. If you look at our vaccine production, the way we did our COVID, which you remember the COVID pandemic, but the vaccines that we produced, we were the first. That's because of our science base. We are absolutely brilliant at doing things using the latest possible technology. Quantum computing, which is the next generation. We are the world leader at doing the prototypes in quantum computing. And I think if I was going to pick one in particular that really interests me, it's the space industry in this country. I mean, in terms of satellite production, micro satellite production, world leader. So anything to do with small satellites, the communications you're using on your phone, the internet, you're completely reliant on UK innovation to do that. It's just that really, we are the most innovative country. So if you want to design something, if you want to come up with a new idea and you need to make it, this is where you invent it. Nowhere else. The Americans look at us with great jealousy about that. We are the world leaders at inventing things here. Fabulous innovation program. We've got a great agency with UKRI, collaborating with industry, and we are producing some of the new advanced materials and the most advanced things in the world. The reason why we've got the biggest wind farms in the world is because we're able to produce the advanced materials you need for those blades and everything else that go into that program. It's that innovation, that clever thinking that the UK is the world leader in.
And at the risk of blowing my own trumpet in that respect, I think the essence of the quorum principle or identifying the systemic problem and then coming up with a solution to it is in itself innovative. It's I know it's not being done anywhere in the world because I've worked for SAP and EY and all these other. I know it's just not the way that they work. So if you're going to change the paradigm, and it's invented here in the UK. So I agree with Stephen again in terms of innovation. The one word I would use, and Stephen's just mentioned it again, is if it's almost like a power multiplication. If you take innovation and add collaboration and bring our combined knowledge and skills across the whole ecosystem of the manufacturers, the suppliers, and just work differently, work smarter in a collaborative way, break down the internal, external silos without any more costs, no new technology is needed. You just bring that innovation times collaboration, and I think we can really step up the performance of UK manufacturing and achieve the end game, which is the investment, the performance.
What's going to make it here?
I thought about, well, what's the purpose of Make UK and these? It's to help their members in terms of, yes, represent their interests with government and lobbying and various other things, but also, Stephen's just mentioned, innovation, bringing ideas to them in terms of things that they should maybe consider and look at, because I totally agree with Stephen, we have a history of innovation, first industrial revolution and several since then, and lots of inventors and creative people. The fact that we have a track record for being thinkers. And that's where, when I launched the UK Manufacturing Initiative in September last year here at Make UK's headquarters, I did it for three reasons. One, I live in the UK. I have my biggest group of advocates over the last 4 or 5 years, people who think I'm onto something and are supportive of the idea, the majority are based here. And the third reason is, again, post-Brexit, and especially given what's happened now with North America, we really are on our own in some respects, in terms of we're not part of the EU anymore, and North America's doing what it's doing, China. So if we are going to remain relevant and competitive and create inward investment, we have to perform better and get up that league table to outperform the manufacturing, even within a big multinational, because again, the big multinationals have factories all over the world. So their decision to shut a factory in the UK and build one somewhere else, they're looking at it holistically in terms of their entire footprint.
And that's a really important point for the large corporates in particular. who have their headquarters in another country and have a subsidiary here in the UK, because they are under constant pressure to show that the UK is outperforming. And why should they? It's a competition for capital internally with those organisations, and you've got to show that you are more productive, more innovative, or another advantage as to why they invest here in the UK. So those big companies are largely those overseas corporates where we need to compete. And to compete, we've got to keep ahead. Yeah. And this is another tool in their toolbox to keep them competitive. I mean, it's great to do an engineering degree, as many of us have done, but now the degree apprenticeship route is the way to do this. And that's what most large manufacturers are looking for now, attracting those youngsters into it at the apprentice stage. And then if they are then academically achievers, then you can take them through to degree and get them all the way through the degree. There's some great campaigns going by some of the large manufacturers at the moment in schools, trying to attract youngsters instead of going to university, by saying to them, I think one of the campaigns says, come and join us as an apprentice. You'll start on £25,000 a year. We'll send you to get your apprenticeship. If you're good enough, we'll send you to university and pay for your degree. You'll end up coming out as a qualified engineer at 23 years old. You'll have your own flat, no debt, and you can laugh at your friends. That's what the campaign says, right? And actually, guess what? They've got 10 applicants for every single place they've got.
Some of it's based on perception.
Yeah.
It's the perception that manufacturing is
those
dark
Victorian
and dingy.
mills,
the mills
and it's not like that at all.
Manchester. So it is almost a rebranding that we need to do to make. But I think there is still the element of, the new generation do not want to go into a situation where they have to write things on paper or use Excel spreadsheets or be fixed to a laptop. They're used to mobility and instant information, and that's still not the norm. The more advanced manufacturers, yes, but the average still needs to raise its game to attract that.
Now, John, at the moment we've got enormous shortage of welders in this country. Enormous shortage. There's something like 6,000 vacancies for welders as we sit here, and lots of the colleges now are doing it through virtual training. So instead of people actually welding away, they're getting youngsters in with virtual headsets because they're teaching them the muscle memory of welding. And so you do 12 weeks using nothing but headsets. And by the time they've done it, they can go on a ship and weld it. I mean, they're pretty good at doing it. And actually, once the youngsters realise they're doing it in an environment where it's virtual, using the latest AI techniques to do it, they are all quite enthusiastic. But it's marketing that to them that's the challenge, getting them onto that and getting to realise that that's how you train nowadays. So if you can go to America now, you'll see lots of the TikTok videos, and they're short videos. They're not big, long videos. They're like, 2 minutes long maximum type things, getting people interested in the latest technology. We need to do much, much more of it in this country. Yeah. That's what we need to do. Make it relevant. So it's not just an American guy talking. You want to say it's in Sheffield. This is what's going on in Sheffield. This is where you want to be part of this organisation, part of that community. Next move on here, I think, with John and his principle is the idea that we should be getting at the youngsters coming in. This should be for them the natural way of thinking about the organisation and about how to manage these projects.